What if Meghan, formerly Meghan Markle, just cracked the code to the future of jobs? Meghan's podcast gives us the foundation of what it takes to create our own jobs. She's not giving us a seat at the table, but rather she's teaching us to make our own table. I can say this because I have a master's degree in English language art with a community college teaching track, which means I am a writer and I am also trained to prepare adults for the changing job market. Are you unemployed, underemployed, or just want to get ahead? Then give me a few minutes to tell you about the 7 lessons I learned from Meghan Markle's new podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. And if you're one of those who just really hate Meghan, I advise you to just stop and take a few minutes and pay attention to what she's really putting into the world. You might find it beneficial. The thing is, Meghan is not just providing an entertaining podcast. She is meeting the moment. Because presently, what we think of as work and the way we do our jobs are fading into the background. Technology and the ability to do things cheaper on a global scale rather than local is a game changer. Creating an employment opportunity for yourself is the future of jobs. Meghan is doing what you and I both should be doing right now. Finding our niche and inspiring others. Maybe you can't do it on a global scale like she does, but you can change your piece of the world. You can figure out how to use your skills and gifts to support your family. Meghan invites us to be a fly on the wall as she converses with female founders who have climbed the ladder of success. With that in mind, I sat down and listened to Meghan's podcast and took 5 pages of notes. So this is my takeaway. This first episode, her guest is Whitney Wolfe, and the nerd in me knows that she has Wolverine claws that she's not showing us. But anyway, according to Meghan, her superpower is the ability to just quiet the noise and focus on what really matters, and also be vulnerable to what that experience is like. We can agree that we could all use a friend and or mentor like that. There is so much noise and distractions in the world. The ability to stop and, as I like to put it, make my world small so that I can prioritize and focus like a laser on what's important. According to Whitney Wolfe, one thing a founder really needs to do is to step back and do a bit of self-reflection, because you have to think of a way to bring your product to market in a manner that reflects who you are as a person, because your customer has to feel the DNA of the founder in the products. And Whitney says it basically boils down to real people solving real problems, putting that energy and passion into their product, and that energy manifests itself into whatever the product is. And Whitney admits that this may be challenging because most of us were brought up in a school system that taught us to follow the rules. Life teaches us that it is those who disrupt the status quo who change the world. I suggest you go back and listen to Confessions of a Female Founder again if you haven't already, to get the gist of Whitney's origin story and figure out what made her who she is. Both she and Meghan have experienced extreme growing pains while trying to escape the box that others put them in. If you learn nothing else from them, make sure you take note of their lessons of resilience. Meghan says you reach a point where you either have to cower or conquer. We should all choose to conquer because it is those hard learned lessons that give us the strength to take the next step when the world tells us to give up. Megan asked us to ask ourselves, what is the core defining feature of your product? So, how do you bring yourself, your values, into any business endeavor? How do you extend those values beyond what you think it can be? Don't be afraid to let this entity that is an extension of you grow beyond the walls you created for it. Whitney had an idea for an app about women and kindness. She also had someone who was willing to help her, but only if she would transition that idea from women and kindness to dating. You see, for every idea that you get and act on, there will come a time when you will have to pivot to meet the moment. Don't believe me? Just take a look at the timeline of our GeniusYou.EduHub video. You will see several pivots and even false starts. When asked to pivot, Whitney's first thought was no, but after careful thought, she could see how she could do it in a way that aligned with her values. So, how many ideas do we get where we have to pivot to meet the moment? A pivot is not a compromise of your values, but rather provides a different perspective. Like, how can you use what you have to help more people? Whitney decided that at the end of the day, her product was not about boys versus girls, but rather how do we how we love ourselves or we don't. And then Megan paraphrases Caroline Coldwell when she says, "In a world that capitalizes on our self-doubt, loving yourself is a revolutionary act." And Whitney reiterates Megan's comment um, with a story. She said that when she was at her richest on paper, um, her inward she was the poorest. That meant that that what it that means that what it took for her to reach that level of wealth, she said it actually robbed her of her real wealth. Um, her ability to connect with herself and to take time for herself, to focus on her spiritual, mental, and physical health, to focus on the things that actually make you the wealthiest in life. Although Whitney's outward life screamed billionaire, this did not matter because she did not feel fulfilled. She had to relearn what it means to be happy and to be herself. Only you can define what brings you purpose or happiness. Not even $1 billion can do that for you. So as you begin your business journey, do not lose sight of what makes you you. And we can find lots of examples of this right here on YouTube. Let's say a small creator's channel begins to blow up and they start making real money for the first time. They do a glow up to the point where their audience doesn't recognize them anymore. But worst of all, they no longer recognize themselves. They have to take a step back and figure out who they are and who they are becoming. And unfortunately, some of them never make their way back. Meghan asked Whitney what advice would she give other founders. And she says, you can never get back time. So if you're stressing over something, ask yourself, is this going to matter in 5 years? Ask yourself, is what I am stressing about going to be a defining feature to your life in 5 years? So in other words, don't sweat the small stuff. Meghan admonishes us to focus on those things that you could control and detach from the things that you can't. Now, Whitney says that we can only ask ourselves, did we do our best? Whitney also says that her experience as a business person and as a mom forces her to prioritize and create boundaries to protect her energy. Whitney took another life pivot and left Bumble for a period of time. And during this time she was away, she spent time with her family, she traveled, and after a period of self-discovery, Bumble came calling again. And when she came back, she brought a renewed light and energy to her business. She discovered that you cannot make people feel better about themselves by relying on the validation of others. And Carl Jung said, looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Whitney's time away from Bumble was an awakening of sorts. So as you begin to create your job, stop and look inside to ensure that your venture is in line with the values and ideas of who you are as a person. Meghan asked us to look at our venture through the lens of how can I help women and others to search for what they want to put out in the world. With the advent of technology and the labor market that is unkind to the working class, it would behoove you to take a page out of Meghan's book and start creating the workplace you want. Unfortunately, the job market is not going to improve anytime soon. So you still have to put food on the table. So while you're still looking for a job, but still don't forget to look inside and figure out what you really want. Rather than always looking for outside work, also focus on your skills, your strength, and what you bring to the table. Overall, Meghan's podcast was filled with a lot of important lessons. I learned that it gave an intimate perspective of what it means to be a female founder. And the fact that we get to be a fly on the wall as she conversed with women who have climbed the ladder of success. And for those of you who don't like Meghan and you're listening for what you can find that she did wrong or said wrong or whatever, I had a student once who did not like me at all. And I had to sit down and tell him that it's okay if you don't like me, but do not miss the opportunity to learn what I have to teach. So this student never came around to liking me, but he made a B+ in my class. I was very proud of him. The Buddha said, Hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Plus, the campaign of hatred against Meghan has gone on too long. There is no rhyme or reason for it, and it makes those, especially those on video, look extremely small and petty. And they're going to go down in history. They're going to be looking at this one day in psychology classes, trying to figure out what is going on here. So I suggest you take the negative energy and turn it into something you can really use to make the world a better place. I suggest a career change and find purpose-driven work. This is a 3-video series about Meghan Markle and the future of jobs. But if you want to help yourself in this channel right now, you can pick up a copy of my book, Financial Life Plan, The Instruction Manual. Because Financial Life Plan, The Instruction Manual is more than a book. It is your blueprint to financial freedom. To recap the lessons that we've learned, number 1, Meghan is meeting the moment as technology and the labor market changes, as you should as well. How to find your unique self and include that in your products. And also, it's okay to disrupt the status quo. Number 3, when you find your niche, don't be afraid to pivot. Allow your business room for growth. Number 4, Meghan says you either have to cower or conquer. Number 5, loving yourself is a revolutionary act. Number 6, do it now. Whatever you want your venture to be, do it now. Because according to Whitney Wolfe, you can never get back time. Meghan asks us to see our venture through the lens of how you can help women and others search for what they want to put into the world. So ask yourself, what do you want to put into the world? How will you be of service to others? Comment below. Thank you for your time. Peace and blessings to you. If you found this video essay helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe.